Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, while the crypto space is feeling more pain, the world itself is moving to a new monetary system. Don't believe it, it's still true. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter for exclusive content. Right now, $1.08 trillion market cap for cryptocurrency. It's up 0.1%. Bitcoin, $22,350.75. It's off by 3.5 on a 7-day. Ethereum, $15.69 and change. It's off by 2.4 on a 7-day. Tether market cap, $71.3 billion, ladies and gentlemen. We're watching it closely. 37 cents for XRP. We're off by 0.6% on the 7-day and up 2.2% on the 24-hour. Let's go ahead and get started this morning. Take a look at this. It's none other than CEO from PolySign, Jack McDonald, and COO from Link2, Joe Indoso, talking with Newsmax here. I'm going to tell you what, this is amazing, and this is at NASDAQ. I want you to listen what's said here. Take a listen.
So our clients are institutions. PolySign is a early stage company, and we're providing infrastructure for institutions to access digital assets. We just offer custody, so we don't trade, we don't market make, we don't lend, we don't borrow.
It was clear to us that there were certain aspects of the market structure that needed improving. We felt very, very strongly that PolySign was it. We felt had the strongest technical solutions that were also regulatorily compliant, which is the other important aspect.
I tell you what, this to me is very exciting. I mean, look, when I think of Ripple, when I think of PolySign, I think of two companies that are absolutely going to use this technology inside of their business model. And it isn't just for their own benefit. It's to the benefit of the rest of the industry out here. We're talking about the capital markets and tokenization and custody here. And PolySign can do that for you, no doubt about it. I tell you, to be at NASDAQ is a big deal, and I love what they're doing. You guys know that. I actually am holding some PolySign and Link2. I love what they're doing. Check out my sponsor underneath the video. Being compliant may sound boring, but for an industry in need of regulatory compliance, PolySign's looking pretty sexy right about now, no doubt about it. Click that link for Link2 and get yourself some before it is gone. And I'll tell you something else, and don't miss the event of the year, the XRP event of the year, a once-in-a-lifetime chance, ladies and gentlemen. This is not something that can be overstated. A chance to be in the same room with John Deaton, Jack McDonald, who you just saw from PolySign, Nancy Beaton, the Chief Revenue Officer from Uphold, Eleanor Terrett, journalist from Fox, Jason Cousins, CEO from Glint, Otto Nino from Sologenic, Joe Indoso himself from Link2, and Daniel from Casino Coin, and so many more people. Don't let this amazing opportunity become your biggest regret. This is the first ever XRP Las Vegas. It will sell out, but you better click the link and get your ticket. It's underneath the video. Sologenic, however, look at this. We're going to have both of these companies here with us, and how amazing is that, right? Sologenic is now trading on Uphold. Now, look, I tell you, we're going to have one hell of a conversation. Don't you miss it. That is amazing. Shout out to Bob Ross and the rest of the team there. And I'm going to be going to Corium's mainnet launch at the end of this month. Very excited to learn more about that. This here is Multicoin Capital's Kyle Samani. Hedge fund lost 91.4% last year alone. Well, you know, I think this is really ends up being instant karma right here is what it is. Because, look, listen to the way he's talked about other people.
I would actually argue it's probably good for most 18 to 25-year-olds to get scammed and lose the substantial majority of their life savings. Like, I actually think society would be better off in the long run if that happened to most 18 to 25-year-olds. Because they
Well, you don't have to hear any more about that, because then he goes on and on and on and on to double down with his righteous self. Well, you might not be 18 to 25, but it looks like you got what you wanted them to get. You know, and kudos to you. Not to mention the fact There's a whole backstory here about multi-coin capital shorting XRP, and that's for another day in another video, and how they knew to do it. Silvergate, however, short seller, predicts crypto's bank demise within a week. Now, listen, I said there's going to be, while crypto pain is being felt here, the world is moving towards a new financial system. Don't believe it. It's still true. You're going to see evidence of it right in just a few minutes. And don't think for a second that Gary Gensler isn't going to use this if it full-on collapses just the way he used FTX as an example of why crypto is bad. You can't make it up. It's so easy to see what's going on here. And then we have this I wanted to share with you, which is really from Bill Morgan here. He says this is from Voyager bankruptcy proceedings, in which the SEC lawyer, in contradiction to Gary Gensler's statements that all cryptos except Bitcoin are securities, stated SEC staff had not made any determination into Voyager was a security, is VGX, I should say, right? Gensler has made his own personal determination it is. And if you look right here, it says SEC lawyer William Updegrove also raised concerns that offering sales of Voyager or VGX token have the attributes of security transaction. The commission has not made any determination on either of these issues, as he highlights here. But however, the SEC believes that the U.S. is operating Binance U.S. is operating an unregistered securities exchange. I mean, think about that. SEC believes Binance U.S. is operating an unregistered securities exchange. You know, John Deaton tried to tell us all this. I've talked about it for years, about the centralization of the crypto platforms and exchanges. The buy, sell, the custody, it's all there. This is what makes PolySign so sexy at a time like this, because they can be the answer for exchanges. They can be the answer for even stock market companies, right? Trading companies, right? Because they can do custody once everything is tokenized and digitalized, and they can custody that there, and they can really honor that regulatory framework that exists. This is, look, don't like it. This is where the space is going. No one is trying to stop them. They're all talking about it. Who's actually taking any action? The only person I've ever seen take any action is John Deaton, and here recently also Digital Chamber of Commerce, Perry Ann Boring and crew. That's the truth. I haven't seen anybody in Congress actually take real action to stop Gary Gensler. But after more than 2 years, Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, expects a decision soon in the SEC lawsuit alleging Ripple Labs failed to register the XRP token as a security. I tell you what, I hope they win, and I hope they win without even a trace of a doubt. I hope it is a clear victory, because that victory will not only be for Ripple and XRP, it will be broadly felt for the entire crypto asset space. We could find out as soon as this month, days away, or we may be still a couple months away. I do remind you that they did they did submit a recent filing from a Supreme Court ruling that supports the fair notice defense for Ripple's legal argument. And that may add more time to the judge's ruling. We will see what comes of that. I'm highlighting this again because of where we're going now. We're going to change gears a little bit because, as I said, the crypto space is still feeling pain. And remember, USD Tether's greatest feature is not showing you where the reserves are. I'll let you figure it out from there. So until we hear the U.S. Treasury, Department of Justice take a stance on USD Tether, right or wrong, and give a blessing or not, crypto winter is not over, and the crypto spring has not sprung. And then we go to a more broad approach and a more broad vision of cross-border payments. IMF had released that report. I covered this. Shout out to Wrath of Common for it here. covering cross-border payments. It does highlight Ripple, XRP, and Stellar Foundation. There is talk over the last several years about Ripple. It came directly from this gentleman here at a huge meeting about that, director at the IMF at the time, Tobias Adrian. I'm not going to go through that, but what I'm showing you quickly here is that on March 23rd, the EU will launch its distributed ledger technology pilot regime. Now, it does not specifically say Ripple or XRP, I want to be clear, but we know that also Ripple is on the Digital Pound Foundation, the Digital Euro Foundation, the Digital Dollar Project. I'll let you figure that out from there too. I'm sure they're just helping, and it'll be zero part of it at the end of the day. That's what you would have to believe if there's no connection at all, right? Now, I'm not suggesting that it's got to be XRP. I just believe ultimately at the end of the day, that collaboration is going to mature into full-on partnerships, working together at some point. I am speculating my ass off. And if you are, that's great. And if you don't like to, don't do it. If you don't believe me, don't believe it. I'm not asking you to, right? These are my digital perspectives. But this is what's happening. Everyone's moving towards it. And then there's still this question, because we know that there's a private ledger to put CBDCs on for the central banks of the world. And people believe because of that, a conversation always pops up, which is rightful to think. It's rightful to speculate upon it. Are there two different prices for XRP? I do not believe that is the case. I've said this really from day one. I don't believe there's a different price for XRP in the private ledger as there is on the public ledger. I believe David Schwartz when he says the price is the price. Now, however, what I do believe is I do believe that there is obviously simulation data, AI, right? All kinds of programs that they built over the years. And I would bet dimes to donuts that Ripple absolutely knows what the price of XRP would need to be able to handle the daily payment flows that would be required once they decide to fully use it or use it at a 10%, incorporation of their business during the day. They probably will phase it in. Everything up until now has been a phase-in operation. I wouldn't expect that to change at this point. I would expect it to continue to roll out in that manner. I'm reminded that James Wallace had told all of us that in 2023, we will see more global CBDC pilots, which really means between other central banks and not just internally, which is very, very important next step. So I believe that they have simulation data and all these things that inform them what the price would need to be based on volume and these things, utility and liquidity. But that doesn't mean there's two different prices. I've never subscribed to that. And it's okay if somebody does. Show me evidence that shows it, and I'll take a look at it. But I just don't see it. But here we go. And neither does Matt Hamilton, right? Or David Schwartz that I've learned over the years. So bifurcation of the monetary system, digital assets backed by commodities, BRICS coalition, gold and more. This coming from someone that's connected to the World Gold Council, ladies and gentlemen. I tell you. And let us not forget that Glint, our sponsor here, has gotten a nod from the World Gold Council as well. We love that, and they're going to be on stage with us also in Las Vegas, XRP Las Vegas 2023. Take a listen to this clip here.
So particularly China, but Russia and some India, some of the other countries are in the process of creating a dual system of payment, of currency, to counteract the U.S. dollar. And so these central banks are buying gold as a reserve currency. Will they use gold to back a new currency? We don't know, possibly, or a basket of currency. We don't know. Will they use a crypto kind of currency backed by the Chinese government? We don't know. What I do believe, though, is that at the end of the day, you will end up with a dual world in terms of system of payment and the currency you pay. And that's not good for the dollar. That is not good for the dollar.
It's definitely not good for the dollar, arguably not even good for the world, but that's a whole matter of perspective and perception. But this idea of a bifurcation of the global monetary system several guests on the show have said that. One of the earliest to call it was Frank Justra, saying that he foresees a bifurcation of the global monetary system. And we're seeing moves accelerating in that direction with the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, looking at forming their own reserve assets, as you quite rightly pointed out, potentially backed by commodities. They're having a big meeting in South Africa in August to finalize the details.
Well, let me tell you something. You know, these are people having these conversations on the World Gold Council, connected to the World Gold Council. These are not cryptocurrency YouTubers and podcasters. This conversation is becoming more broad, more deep and meaningful than it ever has before. New payment systems. Let me add this before we move on. You know, when I see, you know, the U.S. is behind in this innovation race, they are. There's no question. But I also believe, because it's the largest economy of the world, that they're working, and obviously there are people on different sides of this idea of what a digital dollar should look like. You guys perfectly know how I feel about it. It should be a third party in between at the very least, and you should have all the rights as a citizen that the Constitution provides in the privacy of your money, digital or otherwise. And with that being said, if, you know, we know for a fact, it is not an if, we are moving towards new fractionalized payment zones that was just described in here. And it is not good for the dollar. However, if you launch a digital dollar that respectfully is shored up to a greater degree than the paper one in your pocket, and yet still has all the privacy rights reserved for everyone who uses it, I don't see how you come out of that a loser. I see you coming out of that with the dollar stronger than ever. Now, maybe that means you have to introduce a new version of the dollar. Some people have floated a U.S. Treasury note being introduced and the Federal Reserve note being recollected and repatriated to a new dollar. Drastic move, but not off the table. I think when you see these kinds of conversations taking place, look, something is coming, and they all agree that something's coming. This is no longer a if, it's a when, and what it looks like when we get there. That's what we're really talking about. Ripple is striving to capture a market value at $1 trillion with over 20 central banks slated to conduct pilot programs using Ripple's infrastructure, XRP and ODL. You know, this is why, and shout out to Emily for this, this is why I'm showing this right here, because think about the private ledger. Think about the work that's being done. Think about the progress to create new fractional payment zones in the world, a la BRICS coalition. And understand that the market infrastructure is what Ripple has been building wholesale back end for over a decade. This is what I'm waiting for. This is the moment I'm here for, to watch that unfold. Because I believe ultimately that is the ultimate destination and full-scale intended use of the XRP ledger. It isn't just it's a value protocol, obviously, but it is much deeper than that. It is a decentralized exchange. And the more liquidity and participants that you plug into it, the greater it becomes the world exchange. And that, to me, is the ultimate goal. Let's take a look at this right now from Dark Defender, talking about the RSI, the relative strength indicator here. On the 1 week, he says he's seeing some trends that's looking similar here. Could we see a breakout off of this and go to a higher side, which would mean buy volume and pushing the price up? We don't know. But what we do know is if we don't have a resolution in the case, I think it's obvious enough that that fundamental news is going to play a role with price, because we need to have clarity. And it won't be just for Ripple and XRP. It'll be for the whole crypto space. That's going to do it for me. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.